As manager of the Worcester Club, I've been thrilled with the results of the master plan process and the renovations themselves. They've been nothing less than transformative for the Worcester Club. To any club embarking on a renovation or master plan process for a club, I would think it would be most important to embrace the process from beginning to end, from the focus groups, master planning process, implementation of the project. I think it's important for both board of directors and club managers to put a lot of faith in their consultants, in particular with JBD and JGA. I found that it's been very important to trust the process. In regards to what would you have changed about the process, I don't think that there's anything that I would have changed about the process that the club went through in order to sort of develop the master plan and then to move forward with implementing the project on a more local basis. But there's no part of the process that I wouldn't change, from the focus groups to the work with the various committees. I think the process has been a very positive thing for the Worcester Club. I think the initial reaction of the members here at the Worcester Club was that of any club. Private clubs tend to be the dauntless defenders of tradition and the way that things are, and I think that there's always a certain amount of fear that goes along with the mention of change or master plans or renovations to any club facilities. Members are obviously very emotionally invested in their club, and there's a lot of passion that runs through that. However, I will say that, in my 30 years of experience here at the Worcester Club, the club has always taken on projects on a regular basis. So in general, I don't think that the reaction was, the reaction I think was very positive in regards to ongoing renovations. I think that the process of focus groups and the inclusive nature of the focus groups, staying well communicated with the membership, really helping to lessen a lot of the potential anxieties that can go along with any major renovation. The Worcester Club is fortunate enough to have enough facility that we did not have to close down throughout the renovation. We spent about a month and a half, January through mid-February, to renovate the reading room. During that time, we simply blocked off and walled off the area and continued regular operations without the use of the reading room, followed by a little bit more extensive renovation to our bar and west dining room. Again, the club was able to wall off and block off these areas and work throughout the project length without having to close or turn members away for any substantial amount of time. So we maintained and stayed open throughout the project. Clubs can tend to be the dauntless defenders of tradition and the way that things are. I feel, however, at this junction in time, it was important for the Worcester Club really to make some significant updates and renovations to its clubhouse facility. No club in today's world can afford to lose a generation. I think that we've been very successful in what we have done. This room that we're sitting in right now, the reading room, obviously a very stately room, but the renovations accomplished exactly what they were supposed to. Previously to this renovation, guests would walk in, take a look at the room and say, this is an absolutely beautiful room. Classic men's club, classic old men's club. After the renovation, we have people walk in that have never been to the club. They walk into this room and their immediate reaction is, this is absolutely gorgeous. So I think that the perception that the outside world has of your club and facility is all important. And if you're not projecting the right image, you stand the risk of losing a generation of members. I would say that member experience has changed dramatically here at the Worcester Club in the past 4 or 5 months of operation since we completed the renovation. The renovation has been transformative, not only in the way that members use the club, but just in general, the vibe that the club has now. Members use the club far more frequently. They use the club in ways that they didn't previously see the club. I think that the renovation has brought the club much more closely in line with the way that people live today. Feedback from the members and from the staff, I think, has in general been very positive. Depending on which phase of the renovation you talk about, I think that the first phase, the reading room that we're sitting in right now, was a bit more controversial, but that controversy fell along demographic lines. I think that the second phase of our renovation, the Taft dining room and the Taft bar, were much more universally accepted. I would say 99% of members' initial reaction was quite literally wow. It was a wow factor for them. They are certainly more comfortable in the space. I think that they take a great deal of pride in the renovation. When it comes down to the reaction of staff, not only I think is there a great amount of pride in the staff in their new facility, I think it has changed the feeling that the staff has about working at the Worcester Club. I think that they're much more interactive with members. I think that they feel more comfortable working at the Worcester Club with the transformative nature of the way that members use the club. I think that it's been a very positive experience for both the member and for the wait staff and management staff here at the club. When it comes down to member utilization of the club, tracking numbers, the first 3 weeks of operation in October, food and beverage revenue was up by 50%, and it has remained elevated utilization for the past 4 or 5 months, anywhere between 20 and 30%. December, traditionally the club's busiest month. We had a 30% increase in food and beverage revenue in the dining room. We also had our busiest food and beverage operation since I've been here at the club for over 30 years. Members are really using the club far more frequently. I think traditionally it was looked on as a very special occasion, once a month dining experience, formal dining experience that members would experience at the Worcester Club or enjoy at the Worcester Club. However, I find with the renovations, we're seeing members 2 and 3 and 4 times a month, and those numbers are up across the board. Cover counts are up, breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. So a very positive impact for the Worcester Club. It's allowed us to use these rooms more exclusively as membership areas, whereas previously we used a lot of the areas as secondary function space. Now we use this exclusively as a member area. We don't rent it out for cocktail receptions. We don't rent it out for parties. Same thing with the new Taft Lounge, whereas previously we used that as sort of a secondary function space. Now we're filling it with members every single night. So. Previous to the renovations, we really did not have a traditional bar. We had what was, more traditionally known as a cocktail lounge. So it has afforded the members the opportunity to come in and just grab something to eat as a couple individually at the bar. It's certainly promoted a lot more sociability amongst members when they're in that room.
So with the addition of Taft Lounge, it brings about this idea that you no longer need to be so formal, I think especially with lunch. I think lunch is the biggest boost that we've seen. And as somebody who works the lunch every day, I see more and more members coming in who just decide to pop in. And you don't really see that with social clubs like ours, where dining is the main focus. A lot of the times the members try to be more formal and make reservations and such like that. And as we do love reservations because we love to prepare for our members and know that they're coming, we're also ready now to just have these members come in and have their dining experience how they like it. And it's just spontaneous for them. And we really like that idea that these members can enjoy the club how they want and when they want it, and the food that they know and love without these planned events, especially for breakfast, lunch, and even dinner at this point. I think the bar brings about that kind of feel. And as somebody who really enjoys that, these members popping in and I can talk to them and get to know them more, I think that's definitely part of it, is when they come in as by themselves, solo, or as a big group. They become more social, not to themselves but myself. They talk to me more. They get to know me more. They get to know other members more because of this. The Taft Lounge has a beautiful bar now that we can work with and play around and get the members talking to each other, and not just planning events with each other, but planning events at the Worcester Club, ways for them to come back. It's brought about that idea that they no longer need to have a plan. Before we had Taft Lounge, we had a lot of rooms that were beautiful on their own, and it was easy to use those rooms for functions and such like that, but it was hard to market them. With the addition of our Taft Lounge, and you can see it right when you walk in, right when you come through the doors, it's such a beautiful room, and it's not the same throughout. So there's a lot of strategies and different ways that I can market that on both social media, through the internet, emails to our members, and anybody who does that kind of thing for a private club knows that it is hard to market a private club, but getting these pictures and getting these events and social gatherings on either a private social media or however your club likes to do it, with a beautiful room like what we are fortunate enough to have, it's really easy to play around with it, with both pictures and kind of just building up anticipation for a social event like what we do with our Taft Lounge. So the only way that I know those older rooms is just from seeing them online and basically just comparing and contrasting how those rooms compare to the older ones. So working with that idea, it's easy to kind of talk to the members and find ways that they like the new rooms compared to the older rooms. So working with that and finding what the members like or dislike is an easy way to compare and contrast and play with that, find new events, find events that you should or shouldn't do. I work breakfast and lunch. So working those is such a huge part, because not only am I basically studying the marketing of what we're supposed to be doing, but meeting these members and talking to them, finding their ideas, what they want to do. And Taft makes that so much easier because it's such a more social space. A lot of the members come in individually now for lunch, and obviously they don't want to sit at the bar and just eat their lunch. They want to talk to somebody, so I can get behind the bar. I can talk with them before or after they're done with their food. So getting to use that area plays a big role in my job working just the lunch, and then I can use that to my advantage when I'm actually doing the marketing of the club or the communications with the members.